So here, and today I have another ranked gameplay for you guys. It's a 5 stack, but it's not a 5 stack with my squad or so. But you realize that there are a few familiar names if you have been following me from the start, like Asuna and Prime State. They've been playing around with me for pretty long, and in this game they invited me to join them. So we formed up a 5 stack, and we just decided to jump right into the game. So yeah. And a little bit of updates about me and my squad. So just recently I moved to Redemption Squad, which is a squad I'm currently in right now. And even closer to today, or should I say, even more recently, we managed to get a sponsorship from by Ares Esport, previously known as J3X, which you might know as Skywee's formal team sponsors. So anyway, this will definitely not really affect much, other than the fact that we will be going for some tournaments in the future, maybe in around September. But for now, we'll just be playing around more with our squad in this game, not with my squad because it just happens to be we're busy, and so I decided to just accepted my friend's request to join this 5 stack, and then we just start playing. Alright, let's enough about that talk. Let's talk about the gameplay very quickly. We have a main tank Akai, we have 2 fighters, Jawhead and Cho. Cho will be building as a tank build, and we going for the fighter build. And we have an assassin and Lancelot, as well as a mage Hardy. Nothing much to say here, other than the fact that we saw that Lancelot was a little bit of trouble, especially when seems like Martis managed to get a pretty huge engagement for us. And into Lancelot, and with the flicker, we managed to save Lancelot, which is a freaking huge deal because now Omilena has a 1-up over the enemy team. Because the enemy team actually do know what they are doing somewhat, because they're just going all the way to trying to deny Lancelot. Especially you see that Hylos is pushing Lancelot all the way back. And yeah. So anyway, I don't think I made a video about Jawhead before. If not, it's some time ago where the gameplay is much different. But the current meta Jawheads are playing with damage builds, and most likely, or more commonly, assassin emblems, which means you're just packing in punch with here. Because ultimately, Jawhead is a fighter, and if you build him with damage builds, he's actually pretty strong. It's just that there's a few limitations, such as just don't use your ultimate to engage, but use your second skill to run in and throw someone back out and then ult that same person, And here, Lancelot, Martis engaged with Lancelot. Cho managed to flicker in, it's a pretty huge knockup. And he managed to get a kill onto Martis, which is very nice. Of course, a lot of Jawhead players like to use Assassin Emblem for the extra damage. For me, I think a tank emblem is good enough, especially because it gives you a little bit more flexibility as to engage actually sometimes when you actually need to, because if you build full damage onto Jawhead and you pick an Assassin emblem, you're actually pretty darn squishy. And especially in the early game, if you decide to go head on into an enemy team to toss someone out, it's really not the best idea, because it's gonna die pretty fast. You're just too squishy. But nonetheless, I'm still building damage on Jawhead, but of course the prerequisite is to get the tank emblem on, so that early game I won't just die like crazy. But once again, enemy team is engaged on Lancelot, and then here we just dive right into Martis, and I try to use Flicker to get him out, but he had his first skill, which kind of saved him. Oh, but Akai managed to use his ultimate to push back a Vixana, and we managed to kill Vixana. Unfortunately, we didn't get a kill onto Martis, but that's okay because we still got some carry down, which is fine by me. So what you'll notice that most of this game is kind of spent on farming, if not it's clearing wave, because there's not really much you can do other than if you want to roam, because as I mentioned, if you're building Jawhead as a damage, you always want to prioritize farm. But it doesn't mean you don't roam, of course, but you shouldn't be prioritizing roam as much as tanks or the Cho, for example, because they're building full tank. As for Jawhead, because if you're doing some form of damage, if without any farm, you're not gonna be able to do much. Which is why I'm trying to weave my farm in between engagements. Of course, I never really forget about defending towers or just trying to protect teammates if possible. But sometimes the farm will take precedence over that stuff. I mean, engagement is happening in the bottom lane, and then as well as the top lane. So we got a pretty nice result for that. Nothing much to say here. It's just that just a few mistakes to point out that some Jawhead players may tend to make. They tend to engage with ultimate first, which is a horrible idea because you are you're not building tank. So if you charge right in, you're just basically trying to do a role of a tank. But here I'm using ultimate because, well, I'm confident my team is here, so it's alright. But of course, it does turn out to be a pretty horrible idea. His enemy just engaged and Lancelot was taking buff. So yeah, it's kind of awful because we didn't really pay attention. Inside engage like crazy and it's not gonna happen. So try to engage first, but nothing much I think is gonna happen on this. Nope. That's not managed to land his second skill. Managed to get a kill onto Hylos. Just being low. Cho and Mortis. Mortis still standing by. And that's why I was trying to get, and Cho still trying to get a kill onto Johnson. Don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon. So anyway, back to this. I'm going back to the bottom lane after an unfortunate death, which is actually totally preventable. We just could have just not engaged, considering Johnson was missing on the map, which I kind of overlooked. In fact, I think I just totally overlooked that fact, which allowed me to make such a decision. And here we managed to engage onto enemy Bruno, which is pretty easy, and yeah. We see Hylos somewhere in the background, as they're coming towards us. We're not gonna engage on the Hylos because we don't have enough damage, and in the first place he's a tank, and if his ultimate, it's just gonna be unkillable and it's just not worth it. Your team destroyed a turret. And here we're just taking enemy buff because why not? Martis has come in. Trying to engage, Marty has jumped a little too far away, and then with a very nice skill placement by Lancelot, we managed to get onto Martis. Marty has jumped right in to get a kill onto Hylos. And here, because I see there's nothing really much going on, so I go back. Vexana was kicked back by Cho, very nice, and just in time to get the final blow. Which is why Jawhead is a pretty good roamer, but it doesn't mean you should roam the whole game. As I say, it doesn't mean you should roam a lot of the time, like in this case, because I probably died because I was on the farm. I'll overstay my welcome because, you know, as I mentioned, the best candidates for roams are tanks and supports, or like, you know, if you're building tank on the hero, like, you know, Cho or something, then sure, let's go ahead and roam because you don't really need that farm. But if you're building damage, you definitely need the farm so you can get items which will boost the damage by a huge amount. So yeah, unfortunately there's some engagement going on. Hardy managed to get a kill onto Hylos. Johnson has driven right in. Okay, use ultimate, not the best ultimate, but Johnson got pinned there. It's not gonna help much because that's not the main damage source. And here just charging right in because Hardy uses ultimate onto Johnson, so I just discharge into Johnson anyway. In most cases, you don't want to use ultimate first, as I mentioned, but because we are leading, and because our team is there, I just trust them, so I decided to charge right in. And another thing, of course, is because I'm using tank emblem, which makes me more tanky than other Jawheads because they just use assassin emblem, thinking they can do all the damage. My rationale is pretty simple. It's either if your job is to support your team, if you're not the main damage source, there's not really much point in picking assassin emblem. Which is why, even though a lot of Jawhead players pick Assassin Emblem, I just don't do it because I find there's really not much point in that. Same thing with Grok. Grok is most effective if you build him partial damage, but it doesn't mean that you have to take Assassin Emblem because ultimately you are not the main damage source except in the early game. But of course, if you're really going for the Assassin Emblem, you really got to engage early because advantage falls off very fast into the late game. Jawhead jump right in, knock back the Hardy, and well, very easy kill, especially with the damage from Jawhead.
Initiate retreat.
And now that we have slain Lord, we're just gonna wait for the Lord to come by and avoid engagement if possible. Martis has jumped right into Lancelot, and Lancelot managed to kill Martis because of the sheer farm difference. His enemy Martis is about 5,000 less gold than our most farmed champion, Lancelot. So at this point, the game is probably won, but we still gotta be careful. And so we're still waiting around, not really fully engaging because the Lord hasn't really come over. Our idea is to try and take down 2 towers at once, or at least 1 tower with the Lord split pushing. So we're just gonna stand by and try not to make any foolish mistakes in the process. So as you can see, we saw on the map the whole enemy team just went to defend their bottom tower from our perspective. The bottom inhibitor tower. Hardy jump right in. It's time to use the ultimate, and we just engage, get the first kill onto Vexana, which is very important. Magic Blade was pretty good. Magic kill on the Martis, followed by Halos and Bruno. I actually called for the order here, and the home team was just wiped out. Very nice engagement by our team. And so yeah, that will be the game, and GG, well played. I hope you guys enjoyed this gameplay. Not many mistakes in this game other than the fact that probably our mid laner Lancelot didn't really do too much of a good job because he just let Martis early game kind of overwhelm him, which is why I had to go in and save him. But so of course, fortunately, he didn't die, which is a good thing, because it would be a much tougher job if our carry hero, one of our carry heroes, like Lancelot or Hardy, were to have a hard time farming. Then it's kind of game over for us. Of course, my job, it's not really to tank, it is to support our team. We're gonna push out someone who is out of position, use ultimate to knock him back, and it's just basically giving your team time to engage. Which is why, even though I build damage, I'm building utility-based damage. For example, Demon Shoes itself is just good for mana regen, allows me to spam my skills and give me extra mobility. And it's not really much about the actual lifesteal, it's more of the damage as well as movement speed. After using basic attacks, I'm triggering passive. Rose-Gold Meteor is also not really about the damage, just about resistance, melee resistance. And then of course Blade of the Seven Seas is purely utility based other than the damage. Of course, what I'm building afterwards is Blade Armor, followed by Blade of Despair, because it's just the massive attack item, and Blade Armor is because the enemy has a marksman. But of course, if you don't really get to the late game, there's really not much point, and that's why the game just ended there, because we managed to farm properly, roam properly, and just defend overall, which is why we managed to win the game. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is Janso signing off. I'll see you guys next time.